Welcome to the Section 111 podcast with your host, TJ Shoemaker.
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
Haters wanna ball, let me tighten up my drawstring. Wrong sports ball, you know yourself as a lacrosse team.
And welcome back to another edition of the Section 111 podcast. As always, I'm your host, TJ Shoemaker, and I'm joined once again by Tyler Shoemaker as we're going to get into some more college football betting lines of Week 5. Tyler, how you doing?
Hey, good. Good to be back on the show. We had a great week last weekend, so I hope everybody followed the plays. The system's been killing it. You know, over the first 4 weeks of the season now, we're up to 24, 15, and 3 on plays that I've given out on the pod and on Twitter. So we're killing it, and hopefully we can build on that this week.
Yeah, I hope everybody tuned in last week as you were on fire this past weekend. We went 7-3-1. So we had the one push, but you did go 70% for the weekend. So that was pretty impressive, and I'm sure anybody who followed definitely appreciates it. Yeah,
and honestly, that 7-3 really, depending on what number you got the Oklahoma State Texas game at, that could have been 8-2. But I gave it out at 5.5, so I'll take that L. But I personally bet it at 5.5 and also at 7. So I actually ended up winning because I hit it at 7 and also 7.5 on the live line. So I ended up coming out ahead on that game, but I gave it out at 5.5. So we'll take that L.
Yeah, Oklahoma State had so many chances to win the game, but also, you know, to punch it in the end zone several times, and it seemed like they got into the red zone several times, especially early in the game. It just had struggled with red zone offense and getting it to the end zone. But yeah, that was a tough loss. But you know, I think that's something that is going to happen occasionally, and every now and then it's going to go our way for sure.
Yep. It's a numbers game, and we'll keep grinding away and plugging away at it. And we had a nice weekend, so I'm looking forward to Week 5.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. So let's kind of get into this week, and let's get into your top plays.
Yeah, Week 5. This is actually a pretty good college football slate this weekend. I had a ton of games, you know, on this card that kind of fit my system that I really. You know, were possible plays depending on where the lines moved and such. So I was able to, I'm going to throw this disclaimer out quickly. I was able to grab Wisconsin and Ohio State as soon as they opened. So I got Wisconsin at 22.5 and I got Ohio State at 14.5. Those lines are no longer available, and they've since moved through key numbers. So we're not going to give that out because that wouldn't be fair to you guys. But for record keeping purposes for me, I just wanted on record that I did take Wisconsin minus 22.5 and Ohio State minus 14.5. But aside from that, this week I am on Iowa minus 23.5 against Middle Tennessee State as my number 5 play.
Yeah, I really like that pick a lot. Iowa ranks in the top 10 in rush defense, and Middle Tennessee State is actually 104th in rush offense. So that's a huge advantage for Iowa there. And you'd have to think that this will probably be somewhat of a low-scoring game, but that's kind of the game that Iowa likes to play. So I definitely like Iowa here too.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if Middle Tennessee can really get anything going on offense in that game. Like you said, low scoring. So I mean, you're probably looking at, you know, a 31-0, 31-3 type game maybe. So I really like that. Iowa has been covering the spread by an average of 3.5 points a game. And on the flip side of that, Middle Tennessee State has been coming up short of the spread by 2.2 points per game. So we've got a 5.7 points per game margin there in favor of Iowa. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what do you have up next for us?
Up next, and again, this is another game that I personally was able to get in on early, and that's North Texas and Houston. I jumped on this game early when it was North Texas minus 2.5, and then came the announcement about De'Aaron King redshirting the rest of the year. So that line shot up. I think it's like 7 or 7.5 now. So again, for record keeping purposes, I'm on North Texas. But at the current line, I think it's a stay away. So the next line that I would like to give out is Hawaii, and they are currently catching 2.5 at 5 dimes against Nevada. And let's see, Hawaii has been covering the spread by about 1.2 points per game, so a small margin there. However, Nevada failing to cover by an average of 8.1 points per game, so it's more of a play against Nevada here. But I do really like this matchup. I think Hawaii's been kind of underrated by the market since the beginning of the season, and conversely, I think Nevada's been a little bit overrated since their Week 1 win against Purdue.
Yeah, definitely. Nevada got spanked a couple weeks ago by Oregon, and that was actually one of our plays. And that one didn't turn out too well. So now we're gonna kind of flip it around on them and play against them, and we'll see how that works out for us. But Hawaii's actually got the 4th ranked passing offense in FBS, while Nevada has the 89th ranked pass defense in the FBS. So, once again, another favorable matchup for one of the teams that we're playing with. So I definitely like this matchup, and I look for Hawaii's quarterback, Cole McDonald, to definitely sling it around this weekend.
Yep, absolutely. Next up, I've got Liberty at home against New Mexico. Liberty right now laying 7.5. You actually might be able to get this line at 7 in some spots, but I took it early at 7.5, so I'll give it out at that. My number on this game is 18.6, so we're getting a ton of value here on Liberty. Liberty's been covering the spread by almost a touchdown per game. Meanwhile, New Mexico has been failing to cover the spread by 5.5 points per game. So, I mean, there's an 11.4 net difference there as far as where the market has kind of ranked these teams. So a ton of value here on Liberty, I think.
Yeah, these are the types of games that you can kind of find good value with, because they're not the big marquee games, and kind of looking at it, Liberty, like you mentioned, has been covering the spread by almost 6 points a game, and they actually have a top 30 passing offense versus New Mexico, who has the 104th ranked passing defense. So I look for Liberty to score early and often in this game, and I really don't see New Mexico being able to keep up with Liberty.
Yep, agreed. I think this is a really favorable matchup. And again, these last two games, Liberty and Hawaii both, they can sling it around the yard. So I think that definitely works in our favor.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up, I've got Oregon State catching 4 points. I think you actually might be able to get this at 4.5 now against Stanford at home. My number on this actually has Oregon State winning the game outright. So I'm going to give this out at +4. But I also would probably encourage everyone to sprinkle a little bit on the money line here as well. Stanford is just not the Stanford team of old that we've kind of gotten accustomed to seeing. I mean, they've really just been bad from week 1. And Oregon State's one of those teams that's just been historically bad, but underrated from a market perspective. And Oregon State's been covering the spread by over 7 points a game, and Stanford's been failing to cover the spread by 7 points a game. So we've got a 14.4 net difference here as far as the market's concerned. So a ton of value here on Oregon State. So this is definitely going to be a huge bet for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a ton of value. I didn't really find any numbers to really, back this up one way or the other as far as, team statistics. Both teams are pretty average on both sides of the ball, but I will say that Oregon State does occasionally have the big play capability. So, like you said, this isn't the Stanford that we've gotten accustomed to over the years. Still a solid defense, but not great. So I look for Oregon State to be able to kind of hang in there and at least cover the spread.
Yeah, if nothing else, Oregon State over the last couple of years has been able to score some points. So I think that's definitely the way we get this cover here, and like I said, potentially an outright win because that Stanford offense has just been abysmal all season.
Absolutely. All right. Do you have any more games that you'd like to go over?
Yep. My top pick for this week is going to be Louisiana Lafayette, laying 3.5 on the road at Georgia Southern. My number on this game is Louisiana by 11.5. So we're getting a ton of line value there. And when you look at how these teams have performed against the spread so far over the first month of the season, Louisiana is actually covering by an average of 16 points a game. Meanwhile, Georgia Southern has come up short by 4 points a game. So we've got almost a 20-point net difference here. So much value. So that, that just tells you that the market doesn't really know how to properly rank or rate these teams. So I think we're still getting a ton of value with Louisiana here, and I'm going to lay the points on the road with them.
I like it. Yeah, Louisiana Lafayette, they able to score some points. Not a great defense, as you would expect from a Sun Belt team, but like you mentioned, a lot of value here, and Vegas really hasn't been able to get a gauge on Lafayette yet. I still think that they're, for some reason, undervaluing them, and we're going to take advantage of that for sure.
Yep. I definitely think we cashed that one. That's my top play. I would also like to give out what I'm going to call my upset alert pick of the week, and I'm going to go again like we did early in the season with the Marshall Thundering Herd. They're catching 4 points at home against Cincinnati. I do like them to cover the number, but I think the play here is the Marshall money line, because I think Cincinnati would have the potential to cover this number if they do get the best of Marshall. But I think if Marshall's going to make this a tight game, I think they're just going to come out and win the game outright. So my upset pick of the week is going to be Marshall over Cincinnati.
Wow, I like that. One thing I will say about this game is one thing that Vegas isn't considering is the fan factor, and I'm going to be right behind the Cincinnati bench, making sure that I'm getting in their heads as much as I can, especially their quarterback. Now, is their starting quarterback going to be playing, or he's out, right?
I don't have the information in front of me, but I mean, based on the line for this game, that tells me Vegas thinks he's playing, because otherwise, I think this line would be a whole lot lower. So I based on the line, I would assume he's playing, but I don't have that information in front of me.
All right. Well, it's not going to matter. I'm going to get in either one of their heads either way. So, yeah, definitely take Marshall money line, because I'm going to make sure that happens.
Another thing to consider here with this game is Cincinnati plays UCF next week, which is, other than the Ohio State game, that's the biggest game on their schedule. So a huge look-ahead spot here for Cincinnati. So I think and Marshall is definitely, as we saw with the Boise State game, they took them down to the wire. Marshall's not a pushover. They're not a huge brand name nationwide, but they're a quality football team. And Cincinnati doesn't come in ready to play. I think Marshall can take advantage and get the W.
Oh, absolutely. Especially at home. I don't know the exact percentage, but Marshall has one of the best home winning percentages since, I want to say, 2014. They're in the top 5, top 10 in home winning percentage.
Yep,
so you definitely can't count Marshall out when they're playing at home.
Nope, absolutely not. And as we know all too well, we've been to a million games there at the Joan, and it's a fun place to watch a football game and cheer on the Herd.
Yeah, and if anyone hasn't figured it out yet, that's kind of where the name Section 111 came from. That's where we have sat at for years at Marshall football games, and yeah, there it is. So if you didn't know, now you know.
Biggie voice.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up. I really don't have anything else. We hit on the top plays, and
yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I did mention that I took Wisconsin and Ohio State, and at the current lines, I just wouldn't feel right given those games out. However, if you do like those teams in their respective games, Ohio State is laying 17.5 now on the road against Nebraska, and Wisconsin laying 24.5 at home against Northwestern. I would encourage a 2-team teaser there. Tease those down, through key numbers, and take them both, because I do think both of those teams take care of business. I just don't, at the current lines, I wouldn't feel right giving those games out individually.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to personally do that teaser myself. Tease it down 6.5. It depends on the numbers that I get it at, but I'm definitely going to do that, as I think that both of those teams are probably going to cover whatever the spread is now, but I'm not gonna risk it. So I am going to tease some points down and try to get the victory. But
yeah, I mean, it's all about value, and it's all about the number that you can get, and knowing what I got these games at. To lose 3 or more points of value just isn't right. I know there's a lot of handicappers and people online that are giving out picks that do that, and I don't think that's right. I don't want to do that, but I did want everyone to know kind of where I lean in those games and where my money's actually at, and my money's on both of those teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't be telling anybody to play those or even play that teaser if I wasn't going to personally be doing it. I personally am, and I hope everybody follows along, and hopefully we can win. But I think that it has a really good shot. And doing a 6-point teaser with just 2 teams like that, it's still really pretty good odds. It's betting straight up, it's like -110. But doing a 2-team 6-point teaser, I think it's, what is it?
I think it's usually 120 or 130.
Yeah.
So you lay a little bit more, but I mean, for the value that you get, I think because to be honest, those are my top 2 plays. And when the opening lines came out, Wisconsin and Ohio State were my top 2 plays. And then those lines just got inflated. But right. So yeah, I definitely like a 2-team teaser. And I tell you what, I also personally have put smaller bets on the first half of both those games. Those lines just came out. I got Ohio State -9.5 in the first half, and Wisconsin -14 in the first half. Ohio State, well, both of these teams, but Ohio State in particular has just come out and bludgeoned these teams in the first half. I mean, through these 4 games, Ohio State has gone up in the first half 28-3, 28-0, 35-7, and 49-5 in the first half of their first 4 games. I mean, they're crushing teams. Wow. Ryan Day's got them just firing on all cylinders. This will be the toughest test of the season, no doubt. But with the way that offense is going, and Nebraska's defense is, average at best. So I think the Buckeyes come out and light it up early and often against Nebraska.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I really hope that, Nebraska comes out and gets the ball first and then goes down the field and either kicks a field goal or even scores a touchdown, because then you're going to be able to get that live line and a very favorable number. And I'll look for Ohio State to just, whenever they get the ball back, just come right down, score again, and then never look back. So be paying close attention to this game, as that's kind of the perfect spot to find an edge and definitely get a favorable spot.
Yeah, definitely. And especially, where I got the numbers so low, at the opener, I've got Ohio State -14.5. So, I mean, if Ohio State comes out, and I mean, there's potentially a good middling spot there for me, or a hedging spot there for me in this game if it comes to that. So definitely check the live lines always. I mean, you can always find some value there as well. And I've made a little bit of money so far this season on the live lines.
Yeah, as have I, mainly due to your advice, but yeah, we've both done pretty well on the live lines.
Yep. Yeah, that's all I've got for this week. Not a whole lot of marquee games on the slate, but like I said, there are a lot of games on the slate that I like, just not a ton of big names clashing this week.
Yeah. For my Florida Gators, they have a matchup against Towson this weekend, and although that doesn't sound like a very tough game, Towson actually is top 5 or top 10 in FCS, and their quarterback is actually Joe Flacco's brother, so that's pretty cool.
Oh wow, that is cool. I didn't know that.
And weird thing is he's like a dual threat guy. Like last week he threw for like over 300 yards and ran for over 100. And then you've got Joe that's like a statue. But
yeah, well, hopefully Florida doesn't get caught looking ahead to Auburn next week, which I know you'll be there. So, I hope they get the win this week so that game holds its stature for next week for you.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to be at that game, and that's going to be a good one. But like you said, got to take care of business this week, and then we'll get to next week when it comes.
Yep. I hear you. I'm the same way. I hope Ohio State comes out and takes care of business against Nebraska, so that I'll be in attendance at the Michigan State game next week. So hopefully they handle their business this week.
Yep. Well, that's going to wrap us up, and I do thank you for coming on once again, and hope you have a great weekend. Hope everybody has a good betting weekend, especially if you're following us. So good luck to everybody out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this episode, but I do appreciate you all tuning in and each and every week, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But as always, I hope that you guys learned something, and I hope that you gain some new perspective, and most importantly, I hope you all were entertained. But thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Section 111 podcast.